Yeah. Watch this. It's not a lot that you've been saying, whoa, but I can tell from your body language. Okay, let's talk about it. It's about it. Let's talk about it.
All good people, it's me again, Dwayne Bryant, here with another edition of Let's Talk About It. First and foremost, peace and blessings to you all. Hope everybody's doing well. And today's topic is brought to you by a conversation that was had in a DMV Young Business Professionals group meet. And it was a topic of surrounding failure. And I just want to speak to everybody today about failure because failure can be a blessing in disguise. So we're going to frame this discussion as a blessing in disguise, aka failure. Now, a lot of us hate to fail. A lot of us hate to get things wrong. And we really hate to go through the process in which builds us up. And that's what failure does. Now, some of the more prominent members in society, like the celebrities, the more CEOs and the business moguls, they failed a lot. We tend to focus on the people who succeed in their success and accomplishment so much that we really don't pay attention to the backstory of how they actually got into the position that they're currently in now. Now, take into consideration some of the larger corporations. Think about where they started from. Think about the structure in which they were birthed. Now, if we really look at some of the more prominent, I guess, celebrities, look at Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart started off on a small comedy circuit, failing day in and day out, or not really getting certain respect or roles in movies, and even the opportunities didn't come until years down the line. Now he's one of the biggest movie comedian stars of all time currently, right now, doing very well for himself as an independent, I guess, comedian, an independent businessman, as well as a black figure within our community. Now, taking into consideration one of his more prominent movies that really gave him a name, Soul Plane. Soul Plane was one of the most bootleg movies of all time, where if you look at the return rate, I don't know, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but if you definitely look that up, I guarantee you that a lot of people had that movie in their homes, but the gross or the amount of return that they got from that movie was not up to par with how many people it was exposed to. So you got to look at someone's trial and tribulations. Now this man is going on tour, recording his comedy shows and putting them in movie theaters. He's selling out arenas. No one's ever done that before. He sold out the Barclays Center, I think, twice or maybe 3 times. Like, that's unheard of from someone who comes from such a small circuit, who comes from a background of failure. And through those failures, this man learned a system. He learned a process that was, I guess, conducive to what he wanted for his life, and that actually built him up into the man that he is today. Now, the lesson in all of that, all of his trials and tribulations afforded him the opportunity to keep moving, form a team, have support, get those things in place so where if you do fail, you have a supportive system around you that will help uplift you and build you up. And that's just one person to know. It's so many other people who we in our community really look up to that actually failed. Another example, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. You know him, I know him. I mean, we all probably emulated some of his style to some degree. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is probably debatably one of the top 2, top 3 players of all time. Now, even Michael Jordan was cut from a basketball team. Now, if you're the greatest player of all time, debatably, who would think that you would have gotten cut at one point in your life? Like, who does that? Now, Michael Jordan is one of the most well-known and basketball players of all time internationally. He has a shoe brand that's continuing to sell long after he's retired. Now, can you imagine that? A guy who had to work day in and day out. And if you watch a lot of the documentaries and interviews about him speaking, about him being cut on his earlier years as a developing basketball player, he will tell you, or it's shown that through his failure, he learned resilience. He learned not to want that feeling. And even as he moved past those high school days and those high school years of him developing as a young player to getting into college, to hitting game-winning shots, to getting in the NBA and losing badly, going out scoring 60 and 70 points a game, but continuously losing year in and year out, feeling that hurt, that pain of putting in all that practice and all those shots and time in the gym and falling short of a playoff game or even a championship. Now, failure. Hopefully those two examples can give you a sense of how there can be a lesson in failure. Now, if you know other people who are successful and have failed, research them. Research their track, research their trials and tribulations, their path, the things that they took and they did to get to where they are now. Because you never know. Researching someone else's story, their struggle, can help you push through a moment of failure or a moment of tough time. So, in that, failure can be a seed for growth. Failure can be a lesson. It's always a lesson behind failure. So, as always, that's my time, short and sweet. Hopefully y'all tune in next week for another episode of Let's Talk About It. Continue to hit me up on my Snapchat. Continue to hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. Let me know what y'all want to talk about, and we'll discuss it, baby. Until then, peace and blessings.